On the first day of the second half of the 2022 season, I sat down and watched the Houston Astros sweep a doubleheader against the New York Yankees, walking off in Game 1 and winning comfortably in Game 2, finishing the season series 5-2 against New York. As I watched this happen, I pulled out my phone and started on a video about how and why the Astros own the Yankees. The Astros had just won yet another season series against New York, piled on top of all the postseason wins they have against the 27-time champions. I mean, how could I not talk about this? But I stopped myself. Despite the Astros winning in 2015, winning in 2017, winning in 2019, there was still something left to be decided. Did the Astros own the Yankees? Absolutely. But I still think the Bronx Bombers had a shot at redemption to write the script. I felt they had a chance. So I gave them a chance. The year is 2015, and the New York Yankees haven't made the postseason since 2012. That's a 2-year drought, which in Yankee terms is about 20 years. Missing out on October for one season isn't acceptable, let alone two, so the Yankees found a way to make it back. They weren't necessarily even that great, finishing in second place with just 87 wins, clinching a wildcard spot. The offense was pretty good, the starting rotation was decent, but helped out greatly by the bullpen, led by the two-headed monster of Andrew Miller and Dellin Betances at the back end. So going into October, I don't know if there were that many high hopes or expectations really, but at the end of the day, it is the Yankees, and anything other than a World Series title would be deemed a failure. To the wildcard game they'd go to face the Houston Astros. Yes, those same Houston Astros who had lost 111 games just a couple years prior. Houston was in the midst of a 9-year postseason drought, and during it had switched leagues, going from the National League to the American League to join the AL West division. During this, the Astros had some of the worst years ever. I mean, it was embarrassing, but they had a plan, they stick to that plan, had faith in that plan, a plan which was eventually rewarded with being one of the best teams in baseball, and it all started back in 2015. The 2015 Houston Astros won a single less game than the Yankees did, meaning they had to travel to the Bronx to face off in a one-game playoff. Masahiro Tanaka would take the mound for the Yankees, while that year's AL Cy Young Award winner Dallas Keuchel would take the mound for the Stros. Looking back, it's not a game that ever really gets talked about, because the Astros went on to choke and lose to the eventual World Series winning Kansas City Royals in the ALDS, but little did we all know that the 2015 American League wildcard game was the start of one of the biggest one-sided quote-unquote rivalries in baseball history. Dallas Keuchel went out and pitched a gem, throwing 6 shutout innings while striking out 7, as the Astros bullpen would come out and shut the door with the offense scoring 3, quieting the Yankee crowd and moving on. 2 years later, the rematch was on, but this time it was a little different. The Astros were much better, and so were the Yankees, so this had to be a good series, and it was. The Astros won both games 1 and 2 at home, only to go to a rowdy New York crowd and lose every single game on the road, coming back home for Game 6 down 3-2 in the series. So what did Houston do? Keep the home team winning trend going by winning both Games 6 and 7 at home, going on to the World Series where they'd come out victorious. 2 years later, they'd meet again for round 3, and the two teams were even better than they were in their last meeting. The Astros won 107 games in 2019, the most in franchise history, while the Yankees won 103, so this had the makings of yet another good series, and it was. In Game 1, the Yankees dominated their way to a 7-0 win, and had a relatively good chance to take a 2-0 series lead back home before Carlos Correa hit a walk-off home run in the 11th inning, tying the series up at 1. Back in New York, the Astros showed up, with Garrett Cole throwing a gem in Game 3 en route to a 4-1 win, followed by a pummeling of the Yankees in Game 4, winning 8-3 as George Springer and Carlos Correa would both go deep for 3-run homers. Game 5 had Justin Verlander on the mound with a 3-1 series lead. 5 combined runs were scored in the first, as the Astros scored 1 in the top half, followed by 4 Yankee runs in the bottom half, with James Paxton getting the win and forcing the series back to Houston. The Astros were rolling in Game 6, and just 2 outs away from moving on to the World Series, until DJ LeMahieu tied things up on a wall-scraping 2-run homer. This could have been it. The start to something special for the Yankees, an eventual 3-1 comeback for the ages that would kill the narrative of the Astros having any ownership over the Yankees franchise, until that was killed by a Jose Altuve walk-off pennant-clinching home run. The Yankees lost again, this time to Houston, again, and their season was done. And that's when the scandal dropped. It was revealed in 2020 that the Houston Astros cheated by stealing signs during the 2017 season, likely doing so against the Yankees in the ALCS that year, with people also suspecting their hitters, Jose Altuve, specifically on his walk-off home run, were using a buzzer to help tell them what pitch was coming. Whether that was true or not, a lot of the Astros' success against New York was tainted. At least 2017, which of course was a huge year for them, winning the World Series and all. So this team had a lot to prove to the world, and they have done nothing but since. 2020 to me was a very lost year, so I don't really look too deep into it, but if you want to count it, the Astros went to the ALCS. In 2021, the Astros won 95 games, going all the way back to the World Series. And in 2022, they went out and won 106 games, winning the American League West for the 5th time in the last 6 years, going back to the ALCS yet again for the 6th straight season, and who would they face? The New York Yankees for round 4. This was it. This was the time for the Yankees and their fans to get redemption. 2015 was a throwaway one-off game in a year the Astros just went on to lose in the first round anyway. 2017 is looked at as tainted, so that leaves 2019 as the most legitimate and true showdown between the two teams to show who was better. The Astros won, but if the Yankees won this time around, despite going 0 for 3 in rounds 1, 2, and 3 against Houston, this would turn the Astros owning Yankees narrative right around and make it much more even of a rivalry. But unfortunately for the Yankees and their fans, the Yankees are not the big bad evil empire they used to be. It's been well over a decade since the Yankees last appeared in a World Series. Since then, most Yankee seasons have consisted of a good team that ended up being dusted off in the playoffs. In 2010, they'd face off against the Texas Rangers in the ALCS, losing in 6. In 2011, New York would go up against the Tigers in the ALDS, losing in 5, facing them again in 2012, this time in the ALCS, only to get swept. 2013 and 2014 featured postseason-less Yankees teams, only for them to finally get back in 2015, squeaking in by the wildcard game. Lose to Houston, miss the playoffs in 2016, lose to Houston in 2017, and in my mind, 2018 was when it really started to sink in a little bit that the Yankees are no longer the team we all look at them as they'd lose to the Red Sox in the first round. 2019 was another L by the hands of Houston. 2020 was the Rays' turn to beat the Yankees, with the Red Sox ending the Yankees season yet again. This time in the 2021 wildcard game, when $300 million arm Garrett Cole would get lit up at Fenway Park. That's 11 straight seasons of failure. Well, according to the Yankees and their fans' logic, which makes sense. When you have the most championships out of any team in sports history, you can't be satisfied without winning a championship. You're either first or you're last, and that's the Yankee way. 2022 felt a little different. Different in a sense where it almost had the feel of like, this is the last chance. Aaron Judge becomes a free agent after the season. You've lost so many years in a row in October. I mean, this finally had to be the year. And it felt like it in the first couple of months or so. That is until the Yankees fell off a little bit. After an amazing first 3 months of the 2022 season, a .500 July and an abysmal August set them back quite a bit. But they didn't really limp into the postseason considering they went 17-8 in September and 20-11 in their last 31 games. They were still a 99-win team with good players. No excuses. As the Houston Astros took care of business against the Mariners, things got to a point in the ALDS where it seemed like the Yankees wouldn't even get past the first round, getting walked off on with 2 outs and 2 strikes in the 9th inning in Game 3, having to come back from down 2-1 in the series and winning it in 5 to move on. And then Yankee fans made the worst mistake of the entire year. Back in 2018, Yankee Stadium started chanting, "We want Boston," as they beat the Oakland A's in the wildcard game. We all know how that story ended, as the Red Sox won 16-1 at Yankee Stadium in Game 3 of that series, going on to win it in 4 in front of that same Yankee crowd, the one that wanted Boston. I mean, this is the "how many times do we need to teach you this lesson, old man" meme from SpongeBob in real life. You don't actually want Boston, and you most certainly don't want Houston. But you get what you wish for, I guess. In Game 1, the Astros hit 3 solo bombs en route to a win. In Game 2, an Alex Bregman 3-run home run ended up being the difference in another Astros win. Not only were the Yankees now down 2-0 in the series, but they had the audacity and the balls to start making excuses for it, calling Alex Bregman's home run lucky because it wasn't hit as hard as Aaron Judge's fly ball in the 8th inning that would have given New York the lead. Manager Aaron Boone blamed it on the Minute Maid Park roof being open as to what hurt them. And then came Game 3, a game in which turned into an anticlimactic Houston Astros win, leading to a commanding 3-0 series lead over the Yankees. To come back from a 3-0 deficit in a best-of-7 series in baseball has only happened once, and in order to do such a thing, being inspired has to be such a vital part in that. On the morning of Game 4, a game in which the Yankees would have to fight for their lives, the mental skills coach did something that further cements that the Yankees are no longer a team to be worried about. What that skills coach did was send around highlights to the team of the only 3-0 comeback to ever happen, when the Boston Red Sox did it back in 2004, against the New York Yankees. So let me get this straight. You're telling me that the Yankees are using the Red Sox beating the Yankees in the ALCS as inspiration? It would be one thing if they were using just the Red Sox in general for motivation, but the Yankees are literally watching highlights of the Yankees losing 4 games in a row to the Red Sox for the biggest comeback and choke job arguably in sports history as that motivation? Oh, and that wasn't all. Analyst Eduardo Perez FaceTimed David Ortiz into Aaron Boone's office pregame. You would think this has to all be a troll or something. Why on earth would the Yankees be doing any of this? But it's true, and they're doing it. The Yankees haven't been to the World Series since 2009. The Yankees have lost to the Red Sox in every postseason matchup since 2004. The Yankees have lost to the Astros in every postseason matchup in history. The Yankees make excuses when they lose. The Yankees are using the Red Sox as motivation to win. The New York Yankees used to be the big bad bully of baseball. Nobody would stand in their way, and if a team did, that team got beat. They had the best players, spent the most money, and never made excuses for not winning a World Series title. Skip ahead to the current day, and the late George Steinbrenner is rolling in his grave at what this once great organization has become. The Yankees have an Astros problem, but I think it may be more than that. They can't beat the Red Sox either, and can't get to the World Series no matter who they face. And as the Astros officially went on to beat the Yankees in the postseason yet again, one thing is very clear, which is that not only do the Houston Astros own the New York Yankees, but they broke them too.